I still remember the day my father stood in the conference room of our family company, looked me straight in the eyes, and told everyone that I did not have what it takes to lead. He announced that my older brother Derek deserved to inherit the entire business. I stood there in that room, swallowing my pain in complete silence. But there was something my father did not know. Every single product that made our company successful was built on my inventions, and I owned all the patents. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever felt overlooked or underestimated by the people who should have believed in you the most, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Stick with me through this story because the moment my father realized his mistake is something I will never forget. My name is Willie Morrison. I grew up in a small town outside of Columbus, Ohio, in a family that ran a mid-sized industrial supply company called Morrison Industrial Supply. My grandfather started the business back in the 1960s, selling valves and pipe fittings to local factories. When he passed away, my father Harold took over and expanded the company to about $15 million in annual revenue. We manufactured industrial valves, high-pressure pump systems, and pipeline connectors. It was honest work, and my father was proud of what he had built. My father was 58 years old when everything changed. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a voice that commanded attention the moment he walked into a room. Harold Morrison believed in two things, above all else: hard work and the appearance of strength. He valued confidence, charisma, and the ability to shake hands and close deals. My mother, Linda, was the opposite. She was quiet, traditional, and always stood behind my father without question. She kept the peace at home even when keeping the peace meant staying silent. Then there was my older brother Derek. He was 4 years older than me, standing 6 feet 2 inches with an athletic build from years of playing football in high school. Derek had our father's charm. He could walk into any room and make everyone feel like they were his best friend. He told jokes, slapped backs, and knew how to make people like him. Our father adored him. From the time Derek was a teenager, our father would take him to business meetings, introduce him to clients, and tell everyone that Derek would one day run the company. I was different. I was the quiet one, the kid who spent more time in the garage than on the football field. While Derek was out at parties, I was taking apart old machines and putting them back together just to see how they worked. I loved the feeling of solving a problem, of figuring out how things fit together. When I was 16 years old, I won the state science fair with a project on energy-efficient motor design. I waited for my father to show up at the award ceremony. He never came. He was at one of Derek's football games instead. My mother told me later that my father was proud of me in his own way, but I never heard those words from him directly. Instead, I heard him tell a family friend once, "Willie is the quiet type. Not really sure what we are going to do with him." Those words stayed with me for years. After high school, I went to Ohio State University and earned my degree in mechanical engineering. I graduated near the top of my class, and when I came home, I was hopeful. I thought that maybe finally I could prove myself to my father. I joined Morrison Industrial Supply as a research and development engineer. My office was in the basement of the manufacturing facility, far from the executive suites where my father and brother worked, but I did not mind. I had my tools, my workbench, and my ideas. In my first 2 years at the company, I improved 4 existing products and reduced manufacturing costs by 20%. I redesigned our high-pressure pump system, making it quieter and more efficient than anything else on the market. The new design became our best-selling product. I thought for sure my father would notice. The annual shareholder meeting came around, and I sat in the back of the conference room waiting to hear my name. My father stood at the podium and talked about the company's success. He praised the research and development team. Then he said, "Under Derek's visionary leadership, our company has made significant breakthroughs." Derek stood up and waved to the applause. He had not designed a single product. He had not spent a single night in the workshop. But he took the credit, and my father handed it to him on a silver platter. After the meeting, I approached my father in the hallway. I asked him why he had not mentioned my contributions. He looked at me like I was being unreasonable. "Willie, you did your job. That is what we pay you for. Derek is the one who is going to run this company someday. He needs to be the face of our success." I walked away without saying another word. That night, I sat alone in my apartment and stared at the ceiling for hours. I realized something painful but important: no matter what I did, my father would never see me. Over the next 3 years, I threw myself into my work with a new sense of purpose. But this time I was smarter about it. I started reading about intellectual property law, about patents and ownership rights. I discovered something interesting in my employment contract. According to the terms I had signed, any invention created during work hours using company resources belonged to Morrison Industrial Supply. But anything created on my own time with my own materials belonged to me. I started being very careful. I rented a small garage space about 10 miles from the company facility. I bought my own tools and equipment with money I had saved. Every night after work, I drove to that garage and continued my research. I kept detailed records of everything, receipts for materials, timestamps on my work documentation of every step of the process. The first invention was something I called the smart flow valve. It was a valve that could automatically adjust its flow rate based on temperature sensors. Nothing like it existed on the market. It could save industrial facilities up to 35% on their energy costs. I filed for a patent under my own name and received approval 8 months later. The second invention was the turbopump system. I redesigned the internal fan blades using a geometry I had been developing for years. The new design reduced noise by 40% and increased efficiency by 25%. Large manufacturing clients started asking about it before I even finished testing. I patented that one too. The third invention was the quick seal connector. It was a pipe fitting that could be installed without welding or special tools. What used to take 3 hours of work could now be done in 20 minutes. Contractors loved it. I filed for the patent and waited. By the time I had all 3 patents secured, these products had become the backbone of Morrison Industrial Supply. Together, they accounted for about 60% of the company's revenue, but nobody knew that I owned them. My father thought they belonged to the company. Derek had no idea how anything in the building actually worked. And I kept my secret close to my chest. Then came my father's 60th birthday celebration. He rented out an upscale restaurant in Cleveland and invited the entire family along with several business partners and the company lawyer. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. For me, it became the night everything broke. After dinner, my father stood up and raised his glass. He talked about his journey, about building the company from the ground up. Then he made an announcement that made my stomach drop. I have decided to name Derek as my successor. When I retire next year, he will become the Chief Executive Officer of Morrison Industrial Supply. The room erupted in applause. Derek hugged our father while camera flashes lit up the room. But my father was not finished. He looked in my direction and added, "Willie will continue in his current role. He is excellent with machines, but running a business requires something more than technical skill. It requires leadership, vision, and presence." A few people chuckled politely. My mother looked at me with pity in her eyes but said nothing. Derek did not even glance in my direction. I sat through the rest of the dinner in silence. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I shook hands when I was supposed to shake hands. But inside, something had shifted permanently. When I got home that night, I sat in the dark for a long time. I was done waiting for recognition that would never come. I was done hoping my father would change. It was time to take control of my own future. 2 weeks later, I submitted my resignation. I sent a brief email to the Human Resources Department saying I was leaving to pursue other opportunities. I did not explain further. I did not owe them an explanation. My father called me into his office on my last day. He sat behind his big mahogany desk and looked at me with a mixture of confusion and irritation. "So you are really leaving," he said. "Fine. If you want to go, that is your choice. But do not come back asking for your job when things do not work out." I nodded and walked out without saying goodbye. Derek caught me in the parking lot. He had that smug smile on his face, the one he always wore when he felt superior. "Good luck out there, little brother," he said. The real world is not as easy as playing with gadgets in the basement. I put my box of belongings in my car and drove away without looking back. 1 week later, I started my new job at Titan Manufacturing, Morrison's biggest competitor. They hired me as director of engineering at double my previous salary. More importantly, they treated me with respect from day one. My ideas mattered. My voice was heard. For the first time in my professional life, I felt like I belonged. 2 years passed.